Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is Senate Bill 1017. And oddly enough, it's a bill to stop changing the time every year. And you know, nobody asked me to do this. There's no grand anything. It's just that I do not understand why we put ourselves through this every year, 2 times a year. And for a month, you're trying to get your faculty straight and get back on track. And I just thought enough is, I guess because I'm getting older, enough is enough. And so I put in a bill to establish everything as daylight savings time. Truth is, I wasn't even sure what daylight savings time was or not, whether it's the summer or the winter. And I had this interesting little fact sheet when I came in today at my seat. And they don't like my bill because it's daylight savings time, but they like Eastern Standard Time, and they've given you wonderful reasons why we should just stick with Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to ask that the committee amend my bill to switch to Standard Time and hope I can get a second to that and pass this thing. And then I'll let the doctors discuss the rest.
Wait, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question of the patron?
All right. Where are we at here?
Mr. Chair.
What time zone are we in here? All right.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
My confusion.
Senator Vogel.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I love your bill.
Thank
For
you.
people who are outside of light, this really matters. It screws up your entire life. It screws up your schedule. It screws up your sleep schedule. Physicians and researchers will say it's really bad for your health, bad for your circadian rhythm. It's just bad all around. If you've got kids, you can't get them up. Okay, so here's my question for the patron. I also read this. They don't like what you chose.
Right.
What you're choosing, which would be consistent with what they propose, I need someone to explain to me. You're calling it Eastern Standard Time. Is that, what are we choosing?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that would be Eastern
Senator
Standard Time is when the sun is directly above you at noon. And Standard Time would be what we have in the summertime.
Okay.
In the winter months, they flip us.
When you fall back and you
or
lose.
then you spring forward back to the
It's when
correct
you have
standard time.
more light.
Right. I think that's right.
So in the summertime, it's light till 9 o'clock. You have more light at night. That means that you would have more light late in the day in the winter instead of having it get dark at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
And so what I'm hoping, and I don't profess to understand all this, I just want to stop changing the damn time twice a year.
Because
it's
You
just,
have a lifeline,
it
Marie.
is so ridiculous for all of us. What I would like to do is whatever it is in the summer, just leave it that way.
yes, that's what I'm for.
And not fall back
Thank
and
you,
jump
Mr. Chair.
forward in the spring and all that. That's what I'm trying to get to. And I'm not sure what you call it. I think they're saying it's Eastern Standard Time.
You have help behind you.
Okay. That's my bill.
For an amendment.
Mr. Chair, I think,
Do we say aye?
Wait a second. All right. So was there an amendment offered in all seriousness?
Yes.
Mr.
What
Chair,
line?
I would
I just
offer
want to
that
make sure we
amendment.
have it. What line? We have a substitute.
Maybe a substitute.
It'll have to be a substitute.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I would move the substitute so
There's
that
a
it
motion, a
is,
second. All in favor of the substitute, say
so it's
aye.
standard time.
Aye. Substitute's before us now.
Well,
That's the
my-
quickest substitute I've ever seen produced.
Then that's
This is
my bill,
amazing.
Mr. Chairman. As a
Now this is your bill.
substitute. I don't,
All right,
really, that's
those-
all I can add.
All right, those in favor? I'm inviting speakers. Those in favor, please approach, identify yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mike Garrahan. I live in Senator McPike's district, and I am affiliated with an organization called Save Standard Time. I brought the handout that caused all this confusion. And
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Very helpful.
I thought it might be. Anyway, I hope to bring some clarity to the issue. I was opposed to the bill as introduced, but I would support the substitute that's being considered. As you may have read in the handout, the sleep doctors are unequivocally in favor of year-round standard time, that is, the time we keep in the winter. and opposed to year-round daylight time, which is the time we keep in the summer. As Senator Dunnavant started to say, standard time puts midday at 12 o'clock. Daylight saving time puts it at 1 o'clock. Now, people enjoy their summer evening recreation, but the morning hours are also important. That first hour of morning sun, in addition to lighting your way to work or school, also dissipates fog, melts ice, and promotes alertness. If an 8 o'clock meeting is difficult with sunrise at 7:20, it would be more difficult with sun rising at 8:20. It's interesting to note, in 1974, the U.S. Congress passed a bill to extend daylight time into the winter. They were going to try that for 2 years, but once we tried it, we found we didn't like it, and Congress quickly acted to cut the experiment short, saying, we made a mistake, one winter like that was enough. The health argument boils down to morning daylight helps us wake up, evening darkness helps us go to sleep. And messing with that has negative consequences for our general health.
Thank you.
I'm ready to answer questions if you like.
Any others that here in support? All right.
I believe I had a friend on Zoom to speak in support.
Any speakers on Zoom?
Those in Zoom who would like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand electronically. Mr. Speaker, we have one.
All right, 1 minute.
JP, please unmute your mic and give your testimony.
Hello, committee members, Mr. Chair. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to speak before you. My name is JP, and I am also a member of the 501c4 nonprofit Save Standard Time. I originally came here to oppose this bill because it was supporting permanent daylight time. If it were amended to permanent standard time, our nonprofit would support the bill. We agree that ending clock change is a good idea, but we warn that permanent daylight time is a false clock. And when you extend it into winter, you'd be forcing parents, children, farmers, workers to get up and start their days in the dark for a third of the year, from November into December, January, February, into March. And that's just not healthy. That's not a safe condition. Your sunrise this morning in Richmond was at 7:23 in the morning, which is perfectly reasonable for January. But if you were on permanent daylight time, Richmond sunrise would not have come until 8:23 in the morning today. It gets worse the further west you go. In Abingdon, for example, the sunrise was at 7:40 today. It would be at 8:40 on permanent daylight time. So we do not want permanent daylight time, but permanent standard time we do want. That's the position that is endorsed by the American Medical Association, the National Safety Council, the National PTA, even the Bloomberg Editorial Board, leaders from the Cato Institute, Hudson Institute, the Daily Wire. This is a nonpartisan issue. And as Mr. Garrahan mentioned, we have tried permanent daylight time before, and it actually costs lives. Permanent standard time really is the best way to go.
Okay. Any opposition? Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the
Senator Pillion.
for the sleep medicine.
We amended it to
person.
standard time.
Yeah.
I think I understand look, they're a lot smarter than I am, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I just want to stop changing the time.
Question here. Yeah.
Just want to
Senator
stop
Pillion.
changing the time.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Pillion.
So I have a question, yes, for you. So the U.S. Senate passed legislation that goes into effect if the House passes this in 2023. What did they pass?
The bill,
Did they pass what you want or what Stuart originally proposed?
The bill the Senate passed last March was for year-round daylight time,
Yes,
and we
that's what we
opposed that.
Okay, yeah, did everybody get that?
Say it one more time.
So Mr. Chairman, what the
Senator
U.S.
Pillion.
Senate passed was what Senator Stuart originally proposed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Vogel.
Mr. Chair, if I may add something?
The floor is Senator Vogel's right now.
Okay.
You
Go
want to
ahead,
go ahead
let
and
him
defer?
go.
Go ahead.
I defer to you. Go ahead.
The patron, Senator Stuart, reminded me that current U.S. law allows Virginia to observe standard time year-round without Congress acting. Arizona and Hawaii already exercise that option.
You need congressional authority to go to daylight savings time, right?
That's correct.
I'm looking at staff here.
Senator Vogel.
Are y'all thoroughly confused yet?
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chair.
So we have the choice before us is, the substitute before us is a choice for winter, and the original bill is a choice for summer.
Right. Mr. Chair, I erred. Mr. Chair and Senator Stewart, I erred. I like summer. I like summer all year round. I made a mistake. I would prefer that we not change the time. I agree with both the patron and the advocates that the time change is super disruptive, and it causes, for sure, I mean, you read the data about the increased number of heart attacks, the increased number of people falling asleep at the wheel. I mean, all that's really obvious. Where you and I would disagree, Mr. Chair, would be over which you choose. Your view is you would prefer to have less darkness in the morning. I prefer later in the day, at the end of the school day. There's so much value in having that extra daylight later in the day. I prefer what the U.S. Senate has passed, which is what Senator Stewart initially brought. I was hastily Googling this and reading what you said and thought that that's what we were doing and that's what you were advocating and that he was dumb. But now I realize I'm dumb. I'm way dumber than Senator Stewart, and I apologize. So I would just like to say to the committee that my preference would be, and I withdraw my earlier comments and apologize profusely, that my preference would be for the bill in its original form. So thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm not certain, Mr. Chair, did we vote on the substitute?
So we need a motion to reconsider the vote, which we adopted, the substitute.
I would love to make that motion.
Is a motion a second? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify. Senator Stewart will have to change his clock again next
I
spring.
don't care. I don't care what time we observe, as long as we don't have to change the time anymore. So I'm at the will of the committee, whatever y'all want to do. Oh my goodness.
All right, there's a motion to reconsider the adoption of the substitute. All in favor say aye. 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 All opposed? We got one no. All right. We now have the original bill, Senator Stewart, and I believe you've gone from 2 in support to 2 in opposition now, as the bill stands before you.
I listen. I live by the will of this committee. I just don't want to have to change the time anymore.
Mr.
Y'all
Chair,
want to do.
move to report
There's a motion and a second to report.
as unamended. As an
the
unamended.
unamended original bill as presented. Open the roll.
Ooh.
Ayes 10, noes 4.
Can anybody check on the whereabouts of Senator Eben? Because I'd really like him to be back here now. All right, Senator Stanley.